Hello everyone, thank you for joining and welcome to another SysKit webinar. Today we're going to talk about SharePoint server monitoring and how can SysKit help you with that task. But first, let's do a short introduction. So my name is Silvio and I'm a product marketing manager at Acceleratio. Here with me we have Frane, the SysKit product owner, who will be answering your questions at the end of the webinar. You can say hello to our guest, Frane.
Hello guys, how are you?
Okay, Acceleratio is a software development company based in Croatia, and we specialize in creating enterprise solutions for platforms like SQL, SharePoint, Windows Server, Citrix, and other platforms alike. Now, we currently have over 2,500 clients from more than 70 countries across the globe. And many of those clients are large-scale companies such as IBM, Coca-Cola, Rolex. You can probably recognize many logos from this slide. We currently have 4 products, and you can see them all on this slide here. We have SysKit, the server monitoring and administration tool, SPDocket, used for SharePoint documentation and management. Some of you are very familiar with it. And we have CloudKit 365, the reporting tool for Office 365, and SQL Docket, the auto-discover and documentation tool for SQL servers. If you'd like to know more about any of our products, just check our company webpage or contact our sales team. They will provide you with all the information you need. So first, let's go through the webinar agenda. I will explain a few housekeeping rules and how you can ask your questions using the GoToWebinar application. After that, we'll do a short SysKit overview followed by the short intro in today's topic. Next, we'll have a demo where I will present all the possibilities SysKit offers when it comes to SharePoint server monitoring. Of course, at the end of the webinar, we have the Q&A session where Frane will be answering your questions. So to start with the housekeeping rules, you can ask your questions during the entire webinar, and the most interesting ones will be answered publicly at the end. The recording of this webinar now will be available online tomorrow, and in about a week you can expect the webinar summary to be published with all your webinar questions answered. Now, speaking of questions, if you'd like to ask a question using the GoToWebinar application, all you need to do is open the questions chat box and type them in there. All your questions will be answered by our product team, and you will find all the answers in the webinar summary. So let me shortly explain what SysKit is for those who are not really familiar with it. SysKit is a server monitoring and administration tool designed to help system admins and consultants in their daily tasks. With SysKit, you can monitor user activity, application usage, server performance. You can track server inventory, generate documentation. You can basically audit everything that is happening on your servers. SysKit also enables you to simplify remote server management tasks, and it does that with a little help of PowerShell. Another important fact is that SysKit is a totally agentless tool, meaning you can monitor and manage all your servers from using only one central console. There's also a SysKit web application available, and it enables you to reach your monitoring data from anywhere. All you need is a browser and some internet connection. So with more details on SysKit, all SysKit reports can be exported to PDF or Excel for better presentation values. You can set up intelligent alerts, and they will notify you whenever something unusual happens on your servers. It is very important to pinpoint the performance monitoring feature, which enables you to track all existing performance counters and services, and for all server roles, meaning SQL, web front-end server, search server, all of them. And all of them you can track in real time and historically. For the end, I will just mention the server inventory feature, which enables you to generate server documentation and track all system inventory changes. And now we get to our today's topic. So first of all, we'll start with the SharePoint performance monitoring. As I've written on the slide here, it is the key to providing optimal usage experience for your end users. Page load issues will occur, databases will run out of free space, and you need to be there to prevent it from happening. And this is exactly why you need to monitor your SharePoint servers 24/7. I mean, if you've already experienced some issues and slowness, your users experienced it too, and then it's a bit too late. It is also a great thing to have his historical performance logs of all your SharePoint, well, performance metrics and counters. And you ask why? Why? Because you never know when you need to check the logs from, let's say, I don't know, 3 days ago, a week ago, 3 weeks ago. For example, maybe there will be some kind of fuzz, and you'll need to prove that CPU usage on your web front-end servers is spiking only at a particular time of the day, which is probably due to the high traffic and not due to some technical issues. Easy, mystery solved. All you needed was a weekly logs. So what SysKit actually enables you is to monitor all existing SharePoint performance counters and services in real time and historically. For each counter or service you're tracking, whatever, you can set up an alert. And in case of counter, if it crosses above the given threshold, the SysKit will instantly notify you via email. In case of monitoring service, if that service stops, SysKit will try to restart it automatically and also notify you via email. So that way, whenever something bad happens or is about to happen, you will be the first one to know. I would also like to mention that SysKit learns about your alerting preferences and that way avoids all unnecessary notifications in the future usage. This is something we call intelligent alerting, and you will see me mentioning it. So another thing you can do with SysKit is compare the performance of two, well, basically same SharePoint servers over time. And it comes very handy in case you have one server that is kind of acting weird, and then you can compare it with the baseline server, the one that is not showing any issues, and that way you can detect exactly which counter values are off and what is the problem with the weird acting server, to call it that way. Now, we don't really expect you to know which SharePoint performance counters to monitor, or any performance counters. So, because there's literally hundreds of them, and it is not something you can just come up from your head and start monitoring. To help you out, we provide you with monitoring templates for specific SharePoint server roles. They consist of services and counters that are most important for that roles, and they have set thresholds according to the Microsoft best practices. You'll see that in the demo. Now, next thing, we're going to talk about the SharePoint site metrics. You could say they are, well, the same as performance metrics, but they're really not. You see, normal performance counters I was mentioning earlier are gathered from the VMI, and these ones are much harder to extract. For example, with SysKit you can monitor SharePoint site response time and full load time. The first one is, well, it's not so special, but full load time gives you the real sense of user experience when using your SharePoint sites. Just to explain it a bit better, so full load time is the time required for the SharePoint site to fully load all its objects in a browser. And this is not something you can easily benchmark on multiple servers for yourself, well, unless you brought your stopwatch and loads of patience. So it's better try and use SysKit for that. SysKit can also report on other specific SharePoint metrics. Well, for example, on site indexing, you can find out how long it takes the server to index the whole site, the number of indexed objects, number of errors, and so on and so on. There's lots of specific values in SharePoint that every SharePoint admin would like to track, but the problem is that they're not so straightforward to measure, and this is where SysKit helps you. We give you the quick way to solve any monitoring problem by creating reports for your special needs. All you need to do is contact us with requirements, and we will try to provide you with monitoring solution for that. And there's one more great thing. The same intelligent alerts I mentioned in the last slide, you can set them for these metrics too. You just set the data you're interested in, like time passed, a certain status code, value or number, and you just set threshold on when you want to be alerted. It's easier explained when I'm gonna do it in the demo than now, but it's also great. And for the last slide before the actual demo, I would like to talk about the documentation of SharePoint environment. Now, one of the SysKit features is automated server documentation, and amongst the others, it can be used for documentation of SharePoint servers. We provide you with numerous reporting scripts for documenting your SharePoint environment from site configurations to application pool settings, any aspect of SharePoint environment you want to document. And as already said, you just need to contact us and state your problem. We'll do our best to solve it for you. And it is not only the documentation of your environment that is useful here. SysKit enables you to compare generated documentation over different servers, meaning you can easily compare the configuration of two, well, basically should be same SharePoint servers and see if there are any differences. So this is very useful in other environments except for SharePoint, because you can perform patch management and configuration deployment as very easy jobs. You can also compare server documentation over time to track any changes to SharePoint configuration or any other settings. Simply set the SysKit to track specific aspects of SharePoint server configuration, and you will receive an alert when any change is detected. So this would be all for now. Let's head on to our demo. Let me just switch to my demo environment. We can get started. Okay, so here it is. This is our demo environment, and now I'm going to guide you through all the SysKit reports you can use to monitor your SharePoint environment. Many of you here are already SPDocket users, and what I'm going to show you in this demo is something that is really useful alongside all the features that SPDocket has. So I'm going to start with showing you just how the performance monitoring works. So here we have the performance dashboard showing us the overview of the entire system. We have health overview of all computers, of computer groups. Here we can see all the alerts that occurred within the last 24 hours. We have the top 5 computers for processor utilization, memory utilization, and so on. And by looking here, we can see that we have a couple of SQL servers with critical status and one SharePoint server with warning status. Now what we're going to do is click on the warning one, and it brings us to the dashboard, another dashboard, where you can see the list of all the servers, and we double click again. And now it is going to take us to the single server overview dashboard. Now this dashboard displays all the most important performance information for any server. So some details, memory, CPU, disks, networks, top 5 processes on that server using some power. And if you go and look around on this, you can see that we have a specific SharePoint counter that is causing us the problem. And we can simply drill down even deeper. And now we can see what's been going on with this lately. So we can simply zoom in by scrolling, and we can see that it is often peaking over our threshold value. Just to compare it with the other server that is supposed to be equal, we just select the same performance counter on server 2. And we can see that this one does not have any problem with peaks over the given threshold. I mean, there was one, but it was some time ago. And this is the way you can compare any two servers for I mean, for any metrics that you are actually interested. Now, this is not the same drill down to straight to the problem approach can be taken for any server. Let's take this SQL server. And when coming here, we can drill and we can reveal the problem lies not in any performance value, but in the service or two services that have stopped, and that is something that is causing this server to be critical. So another great thing you can monitor with SysKit is that you can track performance values for each process on each server. All we need to do, we go to the application performance. Okay, and now we have plenty of processes now, but okay, we'll select all the servers. And we are interested, well, as SharePoint admins, we are interested in this process. Okay, now the IIS worker process, or as you might knowing, the W3WP process, it is the essential process for the IIS, and to explain it, each application pool creates at least one instance of w3wp.exe, and that's what actually processes requests on your application. Now, this way you can compare all these processes in your environment and see if there's anyone that stands out with some sort of value. Let's say this one, although it's not standing out too much, but if this value were to be much higher, or if it was to spend much CPU, that could mean that there is a possible problem. Of course, they all have the same name, but they have the different process ID, and this is the way to track them and drill deeper if you want to investigate. So to end on the performance part, I'm just going to show you the monitoring templates. Okay, and we provided these templates for monitoring of different server roles, and as you can see, for each of these templates, we have the description, we have the performance counters and services we are monitoring. We have their threshold values and instructions on what should SysKit do if any of these services stops or any of the counters go over his thresholds. Now you can assign each template to any computer or computer group, and you can edit thresholds and actions for whatever needs you have. Additional templates can easily be downloaded through this dialog here. You just click on here and you can see the description for each server. You just click install, and we have that monitoring template here. Now what else we need to do is assign it to some computers, and we need to assign this to computers, and I'm going to select the two SharePoint servers and assign it to that. And we can easily modify everything in that template. Okay, this is something we won't be interested in modifying. And here we can load all the performance counters we can track, and there's lots and lots of them. Trust me, you'll see in a second. So there's plenty to choose, and this is exactly why we create the monitoring templates for you, although you can add any of these counters simply to monitor them. You can configure each counter, warning threshold, critical threshold. You can add any service to be monitored. Again, if it stops, to restart it automatically, and you can set it up here. So everything you monitor can be set for each monitoring template. And now that we're done with editing, so all counters and services in this template will be monitored on this selected service. And that's it for the SharePoint performance monitoring. Now, all of the counters and metrics I've showed you so far are gathered from the VMI, and they are not really, well, complex to monitor in real time. But in SharePoint, there are other metrics that are very important to SharePoint admins and are much harder to monitor using standard monitoring tools. Now, we've taken another approach and we suited our PowerShell reports to do it for us. So we have some here. Okay, and now imagine this simple use case. You have a number of SharePoint sites and you need to make sure that they are available 24/7. So you need something that will constantly monitor them and warn you whenever there's something wrong with them. And here we have just that. First, I'm going to show you the script. Okay, so the name is not actually important. And as you can see, this is a PowerShell script. Well, and it has the description written in the comment, so you can simply adapt it to your environment whenever you need it. I'm just going to select the computer to test it on. Okay. And now we have the results. Everything seems to be okay. This is just the preliminary results for this script, and this was just one server and one site to monitor, and status code is 200, meaning everything is absolutely okay. Now we can select on which servers we want this script to run. We're gonna leave it like here. We can configure triggers, or when do we want this script to be executed. Manual means we will execute it only when we want it. And the automatic means that we can use we can execute it in a certain time intervals. The same can be done for the alerts. So let's say we are interested. I mean, important for this script is that the return code is 200, meaning that everything is okay. So we just select the status code, and we set that everything does not equals 200. Will bring us an alert, and we can send to which address we want the alert to be sent, and that's kind of it. So we just click the run script now, and our dialog here confirms that script will be executed. I should mention that this script works best when executed on a local server, and we can check our status bar here to see our current status. So we have the script that was just executed, and there are no other jobs running. There are many more scripts you can download from our repository, and it works the same way as with the monitoring template. You just go in, you select a certain script, you get the description, you install it, and you assign the computers to them. And we have the result for our script here. Everything is okay, status code is 200. Now, another great report for SharePoint sites is the one I mentioned on the slide. So this script here, measures the total load time of a certain SharePoint site, but the same can be done for any website. So when executed, it starts the Internet Explorer in the background and measures the time in milliseconds it took for the site to fully load all of its objects. So it means everything, images, JavaScript, forms. Now this provides us with real time. The end user has to wait for the SharePoint site to load. And of course, for this script also, you can set up SysKit to send you an alert if, for example, the load lasts longer than, well, 50 seconds. This is something you can't do with some conventional tools. And our third report of the day is this one here. And this report measures the total crawl time for SharePoint search index, number of indexes, number of warning, number of errors, and other relevant data. So this one is the script that was requested by our customer, and we believe it can be useful for any SharePoint admin out there. Now, these are some of the reports we created for SharePoint. I just show you 3 of them, and you can get them and even more from our support. If you have any other specific metrics you'd like to monitor in your SharePoint environment, we can make it happen for you. You just need to contact our support and provide the details. And as the last thing, I'm going to show you how to document the configurations of your SharePoint servers and track all changes over time. So in the inventory section here, we can see many reports for documenting many aspects of server environment, but SharePoint admins will mostly be interested in the IIS category. There are numerous reports in this category also, but for example, I'm going to show you, well, this one, and it shows us the general settings for each application pool on selected servers. Most important one being the auto start setting. It shows you whether the applications in that application pool will start up automatically in case of server restart. If not, that means that application will not be available for end users until the manually started again. There's more good examples. Well, let's say this one here. So this report is showing us binding settings for each SharePoint site. To get a little deeper now, each SharePoint server has multiple IPs, and by default, all sites on that server can be accessed through all server IP addresses. And that is by default, and that is shown by the star symbol in this report. The SharePoint sites that don't have the star symbol are not accessible with all server IP addresses. Also, you can notice that the valuable information of access port number for the SharePoint sites is displayed in this report also. Now, to use this report for change management, what I wanted to show you is I need to shortly explain you how our inventory actually works. So this is probably the easiest way. Now we have scheduled snapshots, which represents all the environment status documented at specific point in time. So everything you set up to be documented, like CPU, network, some specific SharePoint settings, it will be documented at whatever time intervals you set. So weekly, daily, whatever. And then when the snapshots are taken, to perform change management, you simply go to snapshots, compare wizard, and we take two documentations or snapshots, so at a certain point of time, and we simply compare them. I took one from the today and one from yesterday, and now the SysKit is going to show us all the differences that were spotted in your complete environment configuration over the course of one day. And we can see that there is some difference in services. Most of the stuff are exactly the same, but we can see the differences here in the application pool auto start settings. And some of them are running automatically and some of them are running on demand, and this is something that does not change just like that without the supervision of system admin. And if you are not the one who did this, you should definitely check this out. So if you like, you can configure SysKit, of course, to send you an alert whenever the change in any configuration is detected. For that, it's very easy. Just go to File, then Configuration, Options, and under Alerts you have plenty of alert options, but we are interested in this one here. You just check the box, send alert if changes are detected when a new inventory snapshot is taken, and when the next snapshot is taken, whichever difference is detected, I'm going to receive it on my email. So this way you can track all changes in SharePoint server configurations amongst all other changes in your server environment. You just use different reports for different aspects of SharePoint. And that would be all from our demo today. So okay, now that you've seen SysKit in action, I really recommend you to download it and try it out. It is free and it is very simple to deploy. It takes only around 5 or 10 minutes to deploy, install, download, and do everything, and try this on your own. If you'd like to arrange a one-on-one demo, feel free to contact our sales team at sales@acceleratio.net. It is now time for the Q&A session. We're going to read and answer a couple of interesting questions from the audience. Just to remind you, all the questions not answered now will be answered in our webinar summary. Can we start with the questions, Rane?
Yeah, sure. Okay, give me just one moment to sort the list. Okay, so the first question is, how much is the data held in the database? So basically, I believe that by default, we do not delete any data from the database, but in the application you have a data retention job that is basically taking care about your data that you have in the database. So basically you can choose in the application to flush the data after 30 days, after 6 months, after a year, or something like that. So it really depends how much of the stuff you are gathering through the, for example, what Silvio showed about the performance counters or the SharePoint PowerShell scripts. But basically you can flush the data that you do not need really easily from the application. Okay, can I monitor SP service applications? Yes, so basically there are specific commands that you can use through the PowerShell to get the status of the SP service application. And what Silvio mentioned before in the alerts, you can, for example, you can write a script, a PowerShell script that gathers a status of the SP service application. And then, for example, if service application is not online for whatever reason, you can send an alert to you or administrator that service application is not working. You can even, for example, in the application, you can run the script after another. So, for example, if you detect that service application is offline, you can run a PowerShell script to start the SP service application. Okay, let's move on to another question. Yeah, this is interesting. It's basically the same question I answered in the before. So, can I send alert when the service app is offline? Yes, you can. So it's really easy. You can just write that in the script, and then basically the SysKit will detect a change in the status, and then if service app does not have any more status online, it will send you an alert automatically. IIS documentation, how much it goes into the details. So like Silvio mentioned, the IIS documentation is really similar to the SP docket. So SP docket does that really well, but basically we had a request from the customer where we needed to document every single IIS setting that is on the IIS server. So what we did, we wrote, I believe, around 22, 3, 4 PowerShell scripts that basically documents all the settings that are in that particular IIS on that particular server. And what they do is basically they just compare the web front-end servers between each other, and if there is any difference, they try to align different web front-end servers. Okay, Silvio, I believe that we are good to go. Can you take over?
Yes, I can. And well, okay, we're done with this, and the questions brings us to the end of our webinar. Thank you all for joining us today, and hopefully you'll like the SysKit when you try it. If you have any questions, please contact us at support@acceleratio.net. Have a good day. I'll see you soon in another one of our webinars. Thank you again. Take care, guys.
Take care. Have a good one.